Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning and welcome to the Piccoli Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. It's Week 7 and we are ready for some football. I'm your host, the commish, Henry Brick, alongside me is 20-year fantasy football veteran, fantasy phenom, JB. We got a jam-packed show for you this week. We're going to cover injuries around the NFL, Week 7 picks, our studs, duds, and sleepers, and we'll cover our little contest we got going on, Beat the Commish. And you can give us a call during the show with any of your last-minute lineup questions at toll-free at 877-511-1024. If you have a Skype line, you can drop us a line, 347-539-5402. Of course, you can always join us in our kick-ass chat room where we'll help you with any of your questions to help get your lineup set for the day. JB, welcome to the show. How are you making out today?
Man, great to be here. Another great week of football ahead of us. The marquee game this evening is, of course, my Steelers, so I'm all primed and ready for that. And, yeah, man, just can't wait for 1 o'clock to start, man.
You know, it's funny. Today I was looking at the schedule. There's 8 1 o'clock games today going on. So a lot of stuff happening early with all our fantasy teams today. We only got 2 4 o'clock games, so 1 o'clock is where it's happening. And, of course, you can go down to the Piccoli Inn on Route 206 in Sherman, New Jersey. Check out all the games. They got DirecTV, every game running all the time, especially at 1 o'clock today. We got some great beer specials. You can check out our favorite fantasy bartender, Everett, down there. He'll hook you up with some awesome wings, ice-cold beer, and the best place to watch football in town. So
that is the best football in town. I think you had it right the first time.
Yeah,
how can you go wrong? You got good food, good beer, good friends. That is the best football.
Yeah, man. Really.
Amen.
All right, we got a lot of injuries to talk about, JB. So why don't we jump right into it, and you start us off with the first big injury of the day.
Well, it's got to be DeMarco Murray. He's considered questionable to play. Looks like Felix Jones is going to be getting the start today. I don't think DeMarco Murray is going to make it in the lineup today from what I've been watching all morning.
All right, so I guess Felix Jones will get the big start, and that was probably one of the biggest waiver wire pickups of the week, so probably not a bad start today, too. How about your team, JB? Mendenhall.
Yeah, I'm going to let you handle this one. I'm too depressed to talk about this.
This guy's out today. Looks like they'll be running back by committee. You got Jonathan Dwyer, Byron Batch, and Chris Rainey to fill in the shoes against the Bengals. That game's all tonight. It's the 8 o'clock game. It's going to be a great game, Steelers versus the Bengals.
Yeah, got to love those divisional rivalries. Also, you got Kevin Kolb still hasn't practiced. He's expected to miss like 4 weeks. It looks like John Skelton's going to be getting the start for the interim, and that's not good news for Fitzgerald owners and of the like, but that's what you're dealing with for the next few weeks.
JB, before we move on with the rest of the injuries, we got a question in our chat room. We got Storm7777. He has a tough game this week. He's playing the number 1 team. He's starting Eli. He has to start 3. He has Nix, Hickson, Cobb, Denarius Moore, or Josh Gordon. Which 3 of these 5 do you think you should go with?
Well, you've got Nix. I got Nixon, Cobb.
Dominic Hickson, Randall Cobb, Denarius Moore, Josh Gordon.
Denarius Moore. Well, I love Denarius Moore. I think he's a strong play this week, and I really like him. Nix, I guess you kind of have to keep an eye on, right? I'm really not sure what his injury status is. If he's a go, he's a beast, and of course you play him. But if not, Nixon's certainly going to step in and fill that role for him. So, I would just keep an eye to make sure that Nix is definitely going to play. If not, I would feel comfortable throwing Nixon in there. Out of the other 2, I guess I kind of kind of like rolling the dice with Cobb, especially since he says he's playing the number one team in his league this week. You know, like Cobb may be a boom or bust type of guy, but that may be exactly the type of thing you need to push you over the top. You know, you can't guarantee that the guy is going to see a lot of time or even get a lot of plays, but when he is active in the game, we all know he's explosive and he puts up a lot of points. So because of his scenario this week, I would go with two of the more sure-footed guys, and Denarius Moore, Nix or Nixon, make sure to find out who's playing. And then I would go for the home run and take Cobb and just pray that he does what he can do.
All right, great stuff. I actually agree with those picks. I would definitely look at that injury report. We're up until 1 o'clock. If Nix is going, that's definitely the play. I love Cobb this week. And Denarius Moore is definitely going to get it done today at home versus Jacksonville. So
I absolutely love him today.
Yeah, I mean, so you guys got any more questions in our chat room? Please feel free to ask away. We're here to help you with your starting lineups and get you set to win a big game. It's week 7. You got 6 teams on a bye this week, JB. Denver, KC, Miami, Philadelphia, San Diego, and Atlanta. So a lot of top key players on buys, and I know a lot of guys are reaching for some crazy names you normally wouldn't see on a starting lineup, but this is the week that you're going to have those crazy names, and we're here, of course, to help fill those blanks in. So let's continue on with the injury report. I got
absolutely,
Jake
Henry. Actually, I had to start you in one league this week,
so
it's thin out there. So I definitely hear what you're saying.
I got Jake Locker. Looks like he did practice this week. Unfortunately, still not enough to get the starting nod. Probably another week on the shelf. Look for Matt Hasselbeck to get the start today for Tennessee.
Yeah, they have Greg Jennings listed as questionable to play, but from everything I've seen, I really don't see him getting the go. So it looks like Jennings is going to be out yet again. Okay,
and then, of course, we got Danny Amendola is expected to miss at least 5 more weeks. Look for St. Louis to have the wide receiver by committee to continue to fill in for him.
Yeah, that's going to be tough for them. They're already a little, not doing all that well. But and then Pierre Garçon, he's also considered questionable to play this week. So keep an eye on him up until game time.
And then, of course, one of the big names that hit at tight end, Jimmy Graham, ruled out of today's game with that ankle injury. Look for Colston and Lance Moore to really step up their fantasy game today. So, I guess David Thomas will end up filling in for Jimmy Graham, but Moore and Colston, I think, will be the bigger beneficiaries with Graham not going today. So, a lot of stuff there. So you got these key injuries going, and you got all these teams on a bye. So, a lot of crazy stuff happening today here in the world of fantasy, JB.
No, yeah, absolutely. These bye weeks can be killers. I mean, that's why. But this is why we do what we do, right? We're here to tell people how to overcome these bye week blues, these injury blues, and we're going to set them up with some good advice. Make sure they get the right people in their lineups today, and get them on the road to winning championships. Isn't that what this is all about?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, you can check out all our projections. Some great articles. We got the injury report, players to trade for. We give it to you all week right on our website at kickassfantasyfootball.com. Check it out, and you won't find a better site on the net. We're right more than we're wrong, and we're basically fans who have been putting this together, playing for years for the fans. So we're regular guys just like you that are just passionate about fantasy football. JB, we got another question in our chat room. We got Mark SD asking. He's in a standard league. He's got to start either Jay Cutler or Andrew Luck today. Who do you like better?
Oh, man, I'm in a similar position myself looking at Cutler and Schaub. I almost called into your radio show this morning to ask, but so he's got he's got Cutler and who?
He's got Cutler on Monday night against Detroit at home, or he's got Andrew Luck at home against Cleveland. Well,
you got to think after, look for Luck to maybe bounce back this week a little. Cutler's just been so hot and cold this week. I do like the Monday night factor. I do like, coming off the bye week. he really scares me. Like I was really hesitant. I wound up starting Schaub in my other league over Cutler, and I don't know. I guess I'm looking for Luck to bounce back after he had the really good game, then he had a really bad game, and I'm looking for him to maybe pick it back up again. I would kind of roll the dice. I'm not sold on Cutler yet. He needs to show me more.
Okay, I'm actually going to disagree with you. I like Cutler over Luck this week. The problem I have going with Luck is his number one target is Reggie Wayne. They're going up against Cleveland. Joe Hayden is back off suspension. He'll be covering Wayne all game. And I'm not in love with their other targets, although decent. I like Cutler coming off the bye week. He is at home where he does much better. He plays on Monday night, and Detroit's secondary stinks. So I'm going to go with Cutler there. So hopefully that helps you out there, Marquez. We got another question in our chat room. This is from Storm. He has a question: Stafford or Luck? JB, wow.
Now it's Stafford or Luck, isn't that? That was Cutler's adversary this week, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, there. I mean, I like Stafford. I mean, most people, they drafted him probably as their number one starting quarterback. Even if they kind of drafted another high quality quarterback to complement him, you would have to think you had drafted Stafford to be your starter. I think people that drafted Luck, he was there to fill in for bye weeks, and he was there as a flyer if he got hot. But I think you have to stick with, just look at where you drafted these two guys, and for that alone, I would say you'd have to go with Stafford.
Okay, I'm actually going to agree with you on this one, JB. Like Stafford, they are also coming off the bye. I like guys that are going on Monday Night Football because they know the world's watching. These guys usually step up their game. I think he finally gets on track with Megatron this week, and I think it's going to be a nice shootout on Monday Night Football. All right, we got a lot more to cover. We got a lot more questions coming in the chat room. We still got our phone lines open, 877-511-1024. If you got a Skype line, drop us a line, 347-539-5402. When we come back, we're going to get into our Pick of the Week. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
Now is your chance to experience the new game that's transforming fantasy sports. Fantasy Player Exchange is a new daily game that allows you to compete against friends and fantasy foes for cash prizes. With FPX, you can select 5 players from any active sport. Sign up now at fantasyplayerexchange.com for your chance to beat ESPN Radio's Henry the Commish Brick and win $1,000 cash. Go to fantasyplayerexchange.com to sign up and play today. Remember, that's fantasyplayerexchange.com.
I'm sexy and I know.
Car Toys, the most innovative car customizing shop in its class. Summer is here, and so's the heat. Better get that remote start so you can cool off in your car in style with your smartphone. Car Toys can install remote start on Mercedes-Benz, push-button start, and stick shift. Reduce that glare with the best 3M window fill. And while you're at it, get your car detailed by Car Toys Detail Department so your ride looks, feels, and smells brand new. Car Toys defines what everything for your car really means, from TV to reality. That's why Car Toys is the leader in the industry in car customization. Car Toys' knowledgeable team are the best in their class. Like Car Toys on Facebook and check them out at distinctivecartoys.com.
Don't let your fantasy issues become a reality. Fantasy Judgment is the premier dispute resolution service for all fantasy sports leagues. Led by attorney Michael Stein, the Supreme Court of Fantasy Judgment will resolve any and all issues or conflicts that arise in fantasy leagues. This includes disputed trades, collusion, abuse of power by league commissioners, lineup and roster errors, draft issues, score discrepancies, and interpretation of league rules. We alleviate the burden for league commissioners and allow everyone to focus on winning their leagues rather than arguing over disputes. Visit www.fantasyjudgment.com.
All right, welcome back to the Piccolo and Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. I'm your host, Henry the Commish Brick. Alongside me, 20-year fantasy football veteran, the fantasy phenom, JB. JB, we got to get into our picks of the week right now, my friend. This is where we'll, everyone knows who to start, your Aaron Rodgers and your Drew Breeses of the league, but we want to dig a little deeper here and give our fellow fantasy football owners some guys that may not be on the tip of the tongue but may have some great matchups. So why don't you start us off?
Okay, here, I'm going to start you off with a really deep one. Now, this isn't that deep. It's just too good of a matchup for me to not mention. But you got Eli Manning. I know that's not digging, but he is going against, the Redskins this week. So I just want everybody out there, if they drafted him, again, maybe in a committee-type situation, do not even think about sitting Eli this week. He is going to light up this Redskins secondary. Strong day for him.
All right, I got Jay Cutler. We talked about him a little earlier with one of our chat room questions. He's coming off that bye week. He's home against the Lions, and their secondary just stinks. Jay Cutler, great start this week.
Yeah, when we were talking about Jay Cutler, we were also mentioning Andrew Luck, and I'm still going to recommend that you start him this week. He's going against the a Brown secondary that hasn't really looked all that good or played that well, and like I said, I'm expecting him to bounce back after that game that he had last week. So get Andrew Luck in your lineup, especially, again, these are, we got a lot of people on bye week this week. People may be looking for a good play, and I think he's solid.
All right, I got Ryan Fitzpatrick versus the Tennessee Titans. They're at home, and Tennessee gives up the 5th most fantasy points to quarterbacks. Should do well today.
Tony Romo. He's rested up, and he's got a pathetic Panthers defense that he's got to face this week. So he's going to put up some decent numbers and get Romo in your lineup.
All right, and here's one for you. Brandon Weeden versus the Colts. Great matchup here as he will get the ball to his new favorite deep target, Josh Gordon.
Nice.
All right, let's move on now to our tight ends. JB, why don't you start us off?
Well, I got to like my Heath Miller. Ben Roethlisberger, I think he's got the spotlight game tonight going up against his hated division rival, the Bengals. And, if you listen to what he had said earlier this year, he promised that he was going to get Heath Miller into the Pro Bowl this year. So I'm going to stick by my man Ben, and I'm going to tell you everybody to start Heath Miller.
All right, I got Aaron Hernandez versus the Jets. He's back. He had 9 targets last week. Jets give up a ton to the tight end. Make sure you start him.
Okay, Greg Olsen faces the Cowboys this week, and if there's one weakness in their defense, it would probably be trying to cover these tight ends. So look for Greg Olsen to put up some decent numbers this week.
I got Dennis Pitta for going against Houston. Remember him? Well, this week he plays Houston, who gives up the 7th most fantasy points to the tight end, and he will reintroduce himself this week.
Now, I hate to say this, but I'm actually going to recommend that people start Jermaine Gresham this week. He's got a good shot at getting some production this week. The Steelers, my beloved Steelers, they are a little beat up in the defensive end of the ball. So I don't look for them to do a hell of a lot, but if they are going to ding us up a little bit, this could be the guy that does it.
All right, and how about Fred Davis versus the New York Football Giants? Giants gave up 105 yards to him last year, and they're still not great at defending that tight end. So I like RG3 to find Davis in the red zone this week.
Nice.
All right, now we can move on to the wide receiver position. JB, why don't you start us off?
Well, again, this might not seem like I'm digging really deep, but let's face it, Andre Johnson hasn't played very Andre Johnson like this week, or so far this year. And,
I'm a little concerned about that. I got to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about it. I bet
a lot of people are. He was probably a first or second round pick in most leagues, and he hasn't been putting up that type of production this year.
Yeah, what's going on? Do you think the age is catching up with him?
Who knows, man? But hopefully this is the week he can bounce back. Most people, when they saw this on the schedule earlier in the season and they saw they were placing, Baltimore, that might have been the week they might have maybe considered, what should I do with Andre Johnson this week? Not to worry. Baltimore's defense has taken a kick to the you-know-what, and they are beat up, and this should be a good day for Andre Johnson. With all the hurting that Baltimore's got on, look for a lot of young players to be filling some really big shoes, and Johnson should get back on track.
All right, that's good because I am starting him in about 4 of my leagues. How about Stevie Johnson? He goes up against Tennessee today, who's giving up the 11th most fantasy points to the wide receiver. Fitz loves his number 1 target. I think he gets it done big time today.
I like Kenny Britt today. He's facing a Bills defense that's 20th in the NFL against yards allowed, and they're allowing over 2 touchdowns a game against passers. So Kenny Britt should be one to get it done today.
All right, and I got Lance Moore. We talked about him already a little earlier in the show. Goes up against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay stinks. They're the Saints are coming off a bye. Lance Moore's hamstring should be fine. He did practice all week. You got that tight end out, so Lance Moore is going to get it done big time. I think a lot of the attention will be to Marcus Colston. Lance Moore should be a real nice play this week.
And going back to one of the chat room questions we had, I like Randall Cobb this week. The Packers are going to have to get real creative in what they do as far as their short game. We all know their receiving capabilities, but Cobb does some pretty neat things. Comes out of the backfield, even runs the ball once in a while. So I'm kind of liking Randall Cobb today.
All right, and finally I got Brandon Gibson going up against Green Bay. He's now the biggest target for Bradford, and they will have to throw it a lot versus Green Bay. So this is a great start this week. All right, so next we got running backs. I'll tell you what, I'll start us off this time, JB. We got Doug Martin versus the Saints, who are giving up the second most points to running backs. Even with him losing carries to Blunt, I still like him a lot. Great start. Get him in your lineup.
I've got running back Darren McFadden. I mean, we've all been waiting for that big, huge, crazy game, and if he's going to have one this year, this could be the week against the Jaguars. They're pathetic. They can't stop anybody. He's got to be licking his chops coming into this game today. So Darren McFadden has a huge day.
Boy, I hope you're right. He was my number one pick in about 3 of my leagues, and I'm ready. I'm looking at the schedule. I'm looking at my jocks. I just hope that he comes to play because he's definitely due. How about Stephen Ridley versus the Jets? You got Bolden hurt. Ridley will carry the load and get it done today versus the Jets.
All right. I also got Matt Forte. He's another guy back from a bye week, and against that Detroit, defense, which we've already picked on a little bit, earlier in the show. I'm really liking Matt Forte, and I think this could be one of those explosive games for him as well.
Okay. How about Felix Jones? We mentioned him a little earlier. Felix Jones goes up against Carolina. With DeMarco Murray down, Carolina gives up the third most points to running backs. So this is a great start, especially with all these buys this week. Great 1-week rental player. Felix Jones, make sure you get him in your lineup.
Okay, I would like to say Arian Foster here, but that's just a little bit too obvious. But how about if I do throw Ben Tate at you? Okay, so same scenario. They're going up against that Ravens defense. We talked about how beat up they are. How about not having Ray Lewis as the middle linebacker to really come in and really shut this down? I look for Houston. If they can get ahead early in this game and they start running the ball, we've seen it millions of times over. They get a good lead, they'll take Arian Foster out of the game, protect their big money man, and they bring in Ben Tate, and let's face it, he doesn't really miss a step. When he's in there, he gets it done. All
right. That's a lot of great stuff, JB. Remember, you can catch all this and a lot more. You just head to our website at kickassfantasyfootball.com. We got all our latest up-to-date projections, injury reports, some great articles to help get that lineup going, started, and in the right direction throughout the entire season. Our goal is to help you win a championship. We got a lot more coming up as we'll get into some of our reaches of the week right after a word from our sponsors.
We're famous for our buffalo wings. The Piccalilli. When it comes to cooking wings, we're the king. The Piccalilli. Pull up a chair, grab a table, enjoy the atmosphere. Have something good to eat or have yourself around here. If you can't stop in, stop back. Great food, great drinks where everybody is a friend. If you can't stop in, stop back. The Piccalilli Inn.
It isn't fall without the famous Piccalilli Inn. Catch all of your favorite football action at the Piccalilli Inn. Check out the Pick's brand new menu featuring homemade buffalo chicken egg rolls, buffalo shrimp, scallops, and the tender Pick burger. They go great with one of the Pick's ice-cold on-tap beers. Catch every football game at the Pick. Enjoy an awesome meal while you watch your favorite team. The Piccalilli Inn, a Jersey tradition since the 1920s. On Route 206 in Chemong. If you can't stop in, stop back.
The Piccalilli Inn.
Fantasy Football. The Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. Every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. here on 97.3 ESPN. Join the professor, the commish, and fantasy insider Matt Lowry for the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. Got a question? Call us. Who should you start? Who should you trade? Who's great? And who just plain the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. On the web at kickassfantasyfootball.com. Yeah, kickassfantasyfootball.com. And every Sunday at 9 a.m.
I felt that one way up here.
Right here on 97.3 ESPN.
Don't let your fantasy issues become a reality. Fantasy Judgment is the premier dispute resolution service for all fantasy sports leagues. Led by attorney Michael Stein, the Supreme Court of Fantasy Judgment will resolve any and all issues or conflicts that arise in fantasy leagues. This includes disputed trades, collusion, abuse of power by league commissioners, lineup and roster errors, draft issues, score discrepancies, and interpretation of league rules. We alleviate the burden for league commissioners and allow everyone to focus on winning their leagues rather than arguing over disputes. Visit www.fantasyjudgment.com.
Now is your chance to experience the new game that's transforming fantasy sports. Fantasy Player Exchange is a new daily game that allows you to compete against friends and fantasy foes for cash prizes. With FPX, you can select 5 players from any active sport. Sign up now at fantasyplayerexchange.com for your chance to beat ESPN Radio's Henry the Commish Brick and win $1,000 cash. Go to fantasyplayerexchange.com to sign up and play today. Remember, that's fantasyplayerexchange.com.
Welcome back to the Piccoli and Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. I want to open up our phone lines to let anybody give us a call for any of our last-minute lineup help. You can enter our chat room right here on Block Talk Radio. If you have a Skype line, you can drop us a line, 347-539-5402. Toll free, you can call us, 877-511-1024. You know, JB, before we get into some of our reaches of the week, we just heard that commercial spot from FantasyPlayerExchange.com. That beat the commish game. I came in second last week, and I lost by less than 0.2 of a point.
Yeah, I heard you lost because the wind blew the wrong way or something like that.
God, it's like insane. Less than 0.2. The good news is, for all our listeners out there, you can go to FantasyPlayerExchange.com, play the Beat the Commish game. It's just $2 to play. The person that beats me by the largest margin every week gets $50.
The real good news is, here we are going into week 7, and every single week there's been a winner because you haven't outdone the general masses yet. So you've come close, but you haven't done it yet.
Just unbelievable. Yeah, every week there's been a winner. The person that beats you by the largest margin at the end of the 17-week season will get $1,000. So, look, it's $2 to play. Absolutely awesome value. And guess what? Obviously, it's been pretty easy to beat me. This week, however, I think will be a different story. I'm tired of losing by 0.2 of a point now. It's the second time it's happened in 7 weeks to me. So a little frustrated, but I think I'm going to finally be able to put that thing together. All right.
Well, let's hope so. We got to save Victor some money here, man. He's been pumping out $50 bills like they're going out of style. Unless the guy's got a printing press in the back room, you know, he really needs you to pull through one of these weeks.
It's the truth. It's the truth. Unbelievable. All right, let's get into some of our reaches of the week there, JB. This is where we really dig deep and, let's find some players, especially with this crazy, all these teams on a bye, 6 teams on a bye this week. I know a lot of teams are reaching really hard to find that third receiver, that third running back, that flex position that, they're hemming and hawing about going between this player or the other. Let's help them out a little bit. Who do you have as your first reach of the week?
All right, well, earlier in the Giants game, I know I mentioned Eli Manning, so I'm not going to turn around now and throw you, Victor Cruz. But a guy that we kind of brushed on a little bit earlier, how about Dominic Hickson? He's the prototype reach this week. He's facing a bad defense. There's going to be lots of targets to go around, and he's got a bunch of upside this week. So Dominic Hickson. Yeah,
that's a great reach, Dominic Hickson. Especially we're not too sure what's going on with Nix and how much playing time he's actually going to have. So I agree. That's a great reach, JB. Dare I say, Chris Johnson is a decent replay this week. He faces off against the Buffalo Bills, who give up the 5th most fantasy points to running backs. Last 2 weeks in a row, he's averaged 100 yards between rushing and receiving. So not a bad reach for a player. We've been recommending like crazy, trade him. Well, if you got him, this is not a bad week to play him.
All right, I like that. I got I got William Powell this week. He did all right by fantasy owners last week, all three of us out there who actually own the guy. But, in bye weeks like this, I guess you'll take, 70 yards from a guy, just to get that 8 to 10 points on the table. Now, of course, he's not he's facing the Vikings D. It's a little bit better than the Bills D he faced last week, but look for him to be involved in the passing game. And if you need some points, Powell's probably, you might even be able to grab him, pick him up out there, but he should get you 50 yards, couple of catches. So.
All right, good stuff, William Powell. Matter of fact, I think the professor's starting him against me this week in our big matchup in our big money league. So looking forward to playing him. John Skelton. Back at the helm for the Arizona Cardinals. You got Kevin Cobb hurt, probably out a good 3 to 4 weeks. He plays Minnesota, who does have a decent pass rush, but does have some great weapons to throw the ball to. So he's a good reach play this week if you got your quarterback on a bye. So what do you think about that, J-Ben?
Yeah, it's always rough. Like I said, during these bye weeks, I've got I actually snuck not really because of a bye week, more because of an injury, but I snuck a guy into as one of my sleepers this week that fits this type of role that we're talking about right here. So a little bit later in the show, I'll break out a quarterback for you as well. But yeah, definitely. Not that I love Skelton, but somebody's got to get it done. And like you said, Minnesota, they can be beaten. Like hopefully he can make some connections this week. Everybody needs a little help during this time of year, so Skelton could be the guy to get it done.
Yep, you got that right, JB. JB, it looks like we got an email here. By the way, if anybody wants to email us here at kickassfantasyfootball.com, just email me at thecommish@kickassfantasyfootball.com. This comes from, looks like Bill D. from Cape May Courthouse, New Jersey. Bill wants to know what he should do with Dwayne Bowe. And it looks like, of course, Dwayne Bowe's on a bye this week. JB, I know there's a lot of talk that there's actually talk that he might be traded to Miami. He's got Dwayne Bowe. He doesn't say any other receivers he has, but what do you think? What do you think about Dwayne Bowe?
Well, man, at least for the foreseeable future, easy for me to say. While he's got Brady Quinn hoisting the rock, I mean, man, I understand how it's going to be tough to start him every week, but it's not a guy that I'm looking to cut or looking to even trade. I mean, when his quarterback gets back, he's a very productive, big target, and he's a touchdown-producing machine. And, hell, like you said, who knows? If he winds up going down to Miami or something like that, he could start producing immediately. Miami's actually been looking pretty decent. We've been keeping an eye on the Brian Hartlines of the world, and, we've seen what they've been doing down there. So it might not actually be a horrible thing, but right now I just say sit tight with him. I know it's a little tough. I understand, your concerns, but I wouldn't be doling them off just yet.
Okay, we got another email here. This one is from Rob, and he's from Minnesota. Wow, that's kind of cool. Okay,
right.
Rob.
He's how you doing?
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got. All right.
All right. We got Rob with a wide receiver question for you, JB. This is for you, for the Fantasy Phenom. Wants to know, he's got 2 to start of these 5. He's got Reggie Wayne, Mike Wallace, Des Bryant, and Mike Williams, Tampa Bay, and James Jones, Green Bay. So who do you like of these 5?
Wow, what is he in a 18 league? I wish I had those.
Yeah,
I wish I had those problems to face every week. Yeah, pick up the dice, roll them, whatever numbers hit, go for it. Now, let's see. Mike Williams has been coming on really strong. He's doing the production that we've been hoping he would have done, 3-4 years ago when I first started drafting this guy, and he has let me down for many years. He's looking really strong. Of course, I like Mike Wallace. I'm a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so I might be a little biased. But let's face it, he is really getting it done. He's been putting up. I think he's got 3-4 touchdowns already on the year. He's their big, he's their deep threat guy. He's the guy that can break one of those 60-yard touchdown receptions at any given moment. And wow, Bryant or Reggie Wayne, and who was the 5th?
Denarius Moore.
See, and I love Denarius Moore. Wow. I mean, if this was my problem, and believe me, this isn't a bad problem to have, I think I would be going with Mike Wallace, Mike Williams, and Denarius Moore. Those 3 out of the 5 just seem to float a little bit higher than the other 2.
All right, and it looks like we got another email. Wow, this is the most emails we've had, I think, in about 3 weeks there, JB.
All right. Hey, maybe we're catching on, you know?
Yeah, man, this is good stuff. Okay, it's another wide receiver question. He says, Commish, I'm betwixt and befuddled. I have 2 wide receivers to start, and he's down to the bottom of the barrel. He's looking at a Kenny Britt or Andrew Hawkins or a Kendall Wright. Needs 2 out of these 3. It looks like he needs to start.
Well, thank God he directed this one at you because he is digging deep. Let's hear you and your infinite wisdom.
Wow, I'll tell you what. I'm not a big Kenny Britt fan, but this week probably not a bad matchup for him going up against Buffalo. I did have 11 targets last week, and I do like the matchup, so I'm probably going Britt. And tough to bench Torrey Smith. They are on the road against Houston, and he did score against their top corner last week, Joseph. So he has their secondary is a little banged up. So I'm probably going Britt and Smith and leaving Kendall Wright on the bench here because I like Britt over Kendall Wright. I mean, do you agree with that, JB?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's some sound advice. I just, it's fun to sit back and get to, me like most of our fans out there listening to the show. I still like to hear what you have to say from time to time.
Oh, okay. Okay. I just got a text here from one of the many followers, and I'm in like 10 leagues, of course. One of the guys in one of my leagues just texted me. I'm glad they don't text me when I'm playing them because I think that's a little tough to answer, but I'll always be honest and make sure I try to get everybody set straight. But he's got a running back question for us, JB. He wants to know Ballard or Darrell Richardson today. You got Ballard against Cleveland, and then Darrell Richardson against Green Bay.
Well, you know what? I think you got to kind of give it's tough.
Yeah.
I like Richardson. I mean, he's been getting the ball a lot. It looks like he's in a committee now, and he's getting the ball 50% of the time. He's seeing the ball just as much as Jackson. I really like him this week, and I think that's going to be the play for me.
Yeah, I agree with you, JB. I like this Richardson. He's definitely got a nice burst of speed going. I think with what they're doing with Steven Jackson not renewing his contract already for next year and announcing that has not seemed to lit any kind of fire under his ass. So, and I've been very unimpressed with Ballard because everybody in the world went after him last week as the waiver wire pickup of the week, and it was just unimpressive. I'm going down Richardson. I'm with you. I think if I had to go between one or the other, I'm going Richardson here. So, okay, I got another text here. This comes from William, and he's in my league. We call it the Jedi League. So we're all Star Wars nuts in this league. So how I got into
well, you're nuts, but I don't know about okay.
Another running back question for us, JB. This is a good one for you, I think. He's got to start 2 out of these 4. Wow, this is like on the bottom of the stuff. You got Jonathan Dwyer, Mike Goodson, or Ben Tate, and then the other guy he's got is the law firm. So you got the law firm, Dwyer, Goodson, or Tate. You need 2 out of these 4, JB.
Well, Tate, I've already I threw him out there earlier in the show, so I do like Tate. I'm going to stand by my word. Out of the rest of them, Dwyer, I'm a little concerned. I don't know who's going to be seeing much of the ball this week. As we saw a couple of weeks ago, before Mendenhall came back healthy, they do a lot of weird things with the running game up in Pittsburgh when they're not really sure who their guy is. So I don't know if you can rest your hat on Dwyer this week. Kind of like the law firm. I kind of over Goodson if I had to pick between the 2. Yeah, I guess if I had 2 of the 4, I would go Ben Tate and Ben Jarvis Green Ellis.
Okay. All right. I'm going to agree with you, too. I think the they're the right two guys for the job. And thank you guys all for these emails. This is just awesome. We love to answer your questions, help everybody get their lineup straight, help you win a game, get you towards winning your league championship. We're going to keep the phone lines open when we come back. You can call us toll-free, 877-511-1024. Skype line, drop us a line, 347-539-5402. And, of course, our Kick-Ass chat room's open, as always, with any questions you may have about getting that lineup straight for today's big matchups. 8 games at 1 o'clock, JB. We'll be back.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, man. We'll be back after these messages.
We're famous for our buffalo wings. The Piccalilli. When it comes to cooking wings, we're the king. The Piccalilli. Pull up a chair, grab a table, enjoy the atmosphere. Have something good to eat or have yourself around here. If you can't stop in, stop back. Great food, great drinks where everybody is a friend. If you can't stop in, stop back. The Piccalilli Inn.
It isn't fall without the famous Piccalilli Inn. Catch all of your favorite football action at the Piccalilli Inn. Check out the Pick's brand new menu featuring homemade buffalo chicken egg rolls, buffalo shrimp, scallops, and the tender Pick burger. They go great with one of the Pick's ice-cold on-tap beers. Catch every football game at the Pick. Enjoy an awesome meal while you watch your favorite team. The Piccalilli Inn, a Jersey tradition since the 1920s. On Route 206 in Chemung. If you can't stop in, stop back.
The Piccalilli Inn.
I'm sexy and I know it.
Car Toys, the most innovative car customizing shop in its class. Summer is here, and so's the heat. Better get that remote start so you can cool off in your car in style with your smartphone. Car Toys can install remote start on Mercedes-Benz, push-button start, and stick shift. Reduce that glare with the best 3M window fill. And while you're at it, get your car detailed by Car Toys Detail Department so your ride looks, feels, and smells brand new. Car Toys defines what everything for your car really means, from TV to reality. That's why Car Toys is the leader in the industry in car customization. Car Toys' knowledgeable team are the best in their class. Like Car Toys on Facebook and check them out at distinctivecartoys.com.
Fantasy Football, the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. Every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. here on 97.3 ESPN. Join the Professor, the Commish, and Fantasy Insider Matt Lowry for the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. Got a question? Call us. Who should you start? Who should you trade? Who's great? And who just plain The Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. On the web at kickassfantasyfootball.com. Yeah, kickassfantasyfootball.com. And every Sunday at 9 a.m.
I felt that one way up here.
Right here on 97.3 ESPN.
Fantasy football owners, the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show is back every Sunday this season with everything you need to cruise into a championship. Join me, the Professor,
and me, the Commish, along with Fantasy Insider Matt Lowry. Get all your fantasy football news as we break down all the players and tell you who to start and who to trade while we take your calls all show long.
We'll see you every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. all season long here on 97.3 ESPN. Check us out on the web at kickassfantasyfootball.com.
Welcome back to the Piccalilli and Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. I'm your host, Henry the Commish Brick. Alongside me is Fantasy Phenom JB. JB, before we get into our studs, duds, and sleeper picks, we have some more texts and emails. So if you don't mind, we're gonna answer these questions and try to get all this info in for all our listeners here. Got a flex question for you, JB. Right. Looks like can only start one of these players. Montario Hardesty, Leonard Hankerson, Justin Blackman, or Jacquizz Rodgers. So he's got to start one of these four in his flex position. Who do you like? It is a PPR league. Yeah.
Well, they all seem like flyers to me. Ain't one of them somebody that I would have to start in a position. So I understand the flex aspect here. Wow. Well, Blackman just hasn't lived up to any expectations this year. I drafted him in a couple of leagues. I was hoping he would produce something. It hasn't happened. Hardesty, not thrilling me at all. I guess the only guy here that has some big play potential out of them, Leonard Hankerson. I mean, you're looking to fill in a bye. Obviously, you have bye week issues, and you just need a flex player. I think he's a guy that can, he may catch a big bomb and actually do some damage against that Giants D today. So I'd have to go with Hankerson.
So you're going Hankerson. Okay. All right. I like the pick. That's good stuff. All right. We got another roster question here for you, JB. This one comes from John Beck in the EFFL League. He is between starting. This is also a flex question, and it is a PPR league. He's got Devery Henderson, Kendall Wright, or Felix Jones. Needs one of these three. I mean, I think it's obvious Felix Jones.
Yeah, Felix Jones. He looks like he's getting the start this week. They're going to be feeding the ball early and often. They're going to try to, establish some dominance today on the ground. And to me, it's an obvious choice. Felix Jones. I wouldn't even blink an eye.
Okay. We got another one here. This is from Andy Claus. He's also from the EFFL. That's just crazy. This is awesome. All right. Looks like he's got a flex question as well. He's got the law firm going, Hakeem Nicks, and Vic Ballard. Needs one of these three. God, I mean Colston, right? You got to go Colston here, don't you, JB?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't catch that. I had Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, Nixon, Ballard, and Colston's in the mix as well.
No Nixon. It's Colston.
Oh, Colston. Oh,
yeah.
Colston.
Right?
Oh, wow. I was gonna say, I was kind of leading toward Hickson, but no, if it's Colston, Colston, that's obvious. I'll be talking about him in a little bit.
All right. Good stuff. All right, and you could. Any other questions? Feel free to. You could tweet us at KickassFootball. On Twitter. You could give us a call toll-free 877-511-1024. Skype line, drop us a line 347-539-5402. And, of course, you could always go to our chat room right here on Blog Talk Radio. We have an awesome Kick-Ass chat room, awesome, great questions. So we're here to help you with your last-minute lineups. JB, it's now time to get into our studs, duds, and sleepers. Before we talk about this week, we got to talk about last week. So, how did we do last week? Who did you have as your stud, and how did you do?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell everybody out there. I know I got one right last week because I gave three names. I gave a stud, I gave a dud, and I gave a sleeper last week, and all three of them were duds. So I know I got one of these right last week. Let's just figure out which one it was. My stud last week did not perform very studly at all. I gave everybody Julio Jones. It even seemed a little bit obvious to me. He's a great receiver on a great team going up against a poor secondary last week in Oakland. And I gave everybody Julio Jones, and he had a very disappointing day. He had 4 catches for 63 yards. That wasn't a very stud-like performance at all.
Okay. My stud, I didn't do too terrible bad with. Percy Harvin up against Washington. He was targeted 14 times, had 11 catches for 133. 3 of them were deep balls. Unfortunately, did not get into the end zone. So I'm going to give him. I'm going to give myself maybe a B, not even a B plus, a B. He did not get in the end zone, which would have easily made it an A, but not bad. Had a nice target, just could not get into that end zone. Let's go on to the duds. My dud last week, I had Joe Flacco up against Dallas. Those corners they have are very tough, and they proved me correct. He only had 234 yards, only hit the end zone just one time, so not a bad dud last week, and hopefully people had better ways to go at the quarterback position. Who's your dud, JB?
Well, my dud last week, for one of the reasons we just spoke about, with Darrell Richardson getting a lot more of the action, I downgraded Steven Jackson all the way down to a dud last week. He was going up against a pretty tough defense. Pretty much a dud day. He had 52 rushing yards. He did have a couple of catches for 28 yards. And if not for the 2-point conversion that he wound up converting, he would have been a total dud. He would have been about 7 points. And out of a running back number 1, 7 points would have been pathetic. He got the extra 2-point conversion, 9 points. Still pretty dud-like out of a player of his caliber.
All right. And let's get into our last pick, our sleeper pick. Boy, I'll tell you what, JB. I missed big time with my sleeper. My sleeper was basically asleep. I had Vic Ballard, probably along with almost everybody else last week, going up against the Jets. He had 8 carries for just 25 yards, 2 catches for 17. They fell so far behind last week against the Jets that they had to abandon that running game and Vic Bauer just did not have that opportunity to get awake. So he stayed asleep, and I'm embarrassed to say I absolutely missed on my sleeper.
Yeah, I did too. I had the absolute right philosophy. I just unfortunately picked the wrong guy. I had the Jets' Dustin Keller last week. He proved to have one catch for 6 yards. You know, in my defense, they were really depleted at the wide receiver, position. They got back 2 players last week from week 1. They got Dustin Keller came back, Stephen Hill came back. I figured Keller being a little more familiar, maybe that would have been a safety blanket. Well, I was wrong. He went right to Stephen Hill. When he went to the rookie, he had a big day. He even had a touchdown last week, Stephen Hill did. So, like I said, I had the right philosophy. Unfortunately, I gave everybody the wrong guy.
All right. Now, we talked about last week. Let's get into this week, JB. Let's look forward, and I know we've done our research. We got him right now. Who is your stud of the week?
Well, the guy that we just talked about, Marquise Colston. Tampa gives up a ton of yards to wide receivers, and they don't really have anybody to stop Colston this week. This has all the makings to be just a huge monster game for Colston. He's my stud of the week.
All right, and going on with your stud of the week is my stud of the week. It's Drew Brees. He's going up against Tampa Bay. The New Orleans Saints are fresh off a bye. Tampa Bay's secondary stinks. He could throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns today. I love Drew Brees' monster stud today.
Well, I hope if you're right, I'm probably going to be right. So I like the way you think.
Absolutely. Let's do it, man. All right, let's get into our duds of the week, JB. Who do you got as your dud?
My dud this week is Brandon Lloyd. He'll be locking horns with Cromartie all day, and let's face it, Brady has plenty of other options. I really like Hernandez and Gronk this week. The one guy who could suffer in this offense would be Brandon Lloyd.
Okay. My dud of the week is going to be Sean Green versus the Pats. He was awesome last week, but this week he faces a much tougher defense to give up the 8th fewest points to running back. So, as great as Sean Green was, I also had him as one of my sell high guys in the players to trade and trade for article. You can catch that on our website at kickassfantasyfootball.com. We send out a newsletter every week with just that article, so that's great stuff to help get your lineup straight during the week. But I have Sean Green as a dud this week.
Hey, it's funny how both our stud and our dud, we picked them both from the same game. Let's see if this continues, because going into this, I had no idea who you had picked. I don't know if you knew who I had picked, but it's just kind of funny. Yeah. We picked the same game so far.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to unleash on everybody. I told everybody I had stashed a quarterback for this week for these bye week blues, and my sleeper of the week is Matt Hasselbeck. He's going up against Buffalo, who we've already beat up enough this week. I don't need to pick on them anymore. But he's a wily old veteran, and he's got a pretty good host of weapons around him. We mentioned all of his weapons so far this week, so why not throw him into the mix? He's going to be the guy that's going to be touching the ball every snap. So Matt Hasselbeck's going to be a sneaky sleeper, and I expect good things from him.
All right. That's great stuff. My sleeper of the week is going to be Donnie Avery versus Cleveland. As I mentioned earlier in the show, Joe Hayden is back off suspension this week. He'll be covering Reggie Wayne all day. This leaves Avery to really light it up this week with luck. So there you got it. We got our studs, and sleepers. We'll keep track of that as we do every week right here on Blog Talk Radio. We're on at 11 a.m. every Sunday. You can catch us a couple hours before game time. That way we'll help get your last-minute lineups in, help keep that lineup straight, and to help you get to a win for this week's game to help guide you to a championship. All right, we just got a few minutes left in the show. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back. We're going to talk about a couple of the big games that we're going to have later on today to talk about who are players to target and who we like in them fantasy-wise. We'll be back after the short break.
Fantasy football owners, the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show is back every Sunday this season with everything you need to cruise into a championship. Join me, the Professor,
and me, the Commish, along with fantasy insider Matt Lowry. Get all your fantasy football news as we break down all the players and tell you who to start and who to trade while we take your calls all show long.
We'll see you every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. all season long here on 97.3 ESPN. Check us out on the web at kickassfantasyfootball.com.
Now is your chance to experience the new game that's transforming fantasy sports. Fantasy Player Exchange is a new daily game that allows you to compete against friends and fantasy foes for cash prizes. With FPX, you can select 5 players from any active sport. Sign up now at fantasyplayerexchange.com for your chance to beat ESPN Radio's Henry the Commish Brick and win $1,000 cash. Go to fantasyplayerexchange.com to sign up and play today. Remember, that's fantasyplayerexchange.com.
Welcome back to the Piccoli and Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. I'm your host, Henry Brick, the Commish. Alongside me is Fantasy Phenom JB. We're here to help you win a championship. JB, we just got a few minutes left in the show. We have some great matchups going today. As I mentioned earlier, 8 1 o'clock games. I'd just like to cover a couple of them with you to get your thoughts on who you like in these games fantasy-wise for the folks listening. So first game I want to talk about is the Baltimore Ravens at Houston. We were thinking earlier this could be a big defensive matchup, but a lot of injuries on defense for both teams. So offensively, this could be a monster game. Who do you like in this game fantasy-wise?
Everybody. Start
nice.
them all.
Nice.
No, exactly. No, you nailed it there. You got 2 dinged-up defenses. You've got 2, very good teams all around, two well-rounded teams, and they're both facing each other in their eyes at the right time. They get to pick on a depleted defense. I like Schaub. I like Flacco. I like Ray Rice, Arian Foster. We mentioned Ben Tate. Andre Johnson, we talked about, should be able to bounce back. You got Bolden. You got Pitta is a great tight end. Owen Daniels is a great tight end. I mean, this is going to be one of those great fantasy games. I really hope that I can find it and sit down and watch this game because I'm sure this influences everybody. If you're not starting one of these people, somebody you're playing against is. So it's going to be an interesting game to watch today. And, yeah, I look for a lot of big scoring out of this game.
All right. How about we have here's one of the 2 4 o'clock games. New York Jets at New England today. A lot of injuries to that New York Jets defense. There's talk of Tim Tebow even getting some reps at the running back position. Who do you like in this game fantasy-wise, JB?
Yeah, Tim Tebow at running back. Start him. No.
Nice.
No. Yeah, it's going to be all green. It's going to be all New England. Unfortunately, I don't see much out of the Jets side of the ball. Maybe that rookie again, Stephen Hill. They're going to have to be putting the ball in the air a lot this week just to try to keep pace with the Patriots. Again, in a bye week situation, you might even want to consider Mark Sanchez. I can't believe I just said that. But let's figure he is going to have to be throwing up the ball a lot this week. The Patriots are going to just explode on them today. Brady should have a huge monster day. Danny Woodhead's even been seeing a lot of the ball out of the backfield, in a receiving role. Stephen Ridley actually looks like they have somewhat of a running game in New England, so that's kind of impressive. Like I said, the one downside here may be Brandon Lloyd. He's going to be stuck on Cromartie, or Cromartie's going to be stuck on him, I should say, all day. But the tight ends you got to like, and Wes Welker he always finds a way to get it done. I mean, that's a given.
All right. The last game I want to talk about, JB, with you, and I know you're going to be watching this one intently. It's the Sunday night matchup. The Pittsburgh Steelers go on the road to Cincinnati to face the Bengals. Who do you like in this game and for fantasy?
Well, I'll start with the Bengals because I hate to do it. I hate to talk anything bad against my Steelers, but I do like Ben Jarvis Green Ellis this week. He's just one of those hard-nosed guys. He's a hard runner, and in this division, like you have to be, they're a tough, hard-hitting game, but he's a guy that he seems to be pretty durable. He didn't get to run the ball that much, while he was in New England. Now he's the featured back, so he still has a lot of mileage on him. A.J. Green, you have to like the guy. He's probably best producing fantasy receiver thus far this year. The guy is just a monster, and as I mentioned earlier, Jermaine Gresham, I look for him to see him down around the end zone. He might not get a lot of yards, but look for him to target this big body in the end zone. And then to the other side of the ball, my Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger, he's just a magician. He proves it week in, week out, year in, year out. The guy's got 2 rings. Can't say enough about him. He's going to find his receivers, and the one receiver that I look to really have a big explosive day today is Mike Wallace. He's their deep threat guy. He's that end zone guy that you look for, when you get down inside the 20. Absolutely love Mike Wallace today. And Heath Miller, like I said, from Ben Roethlisberger's lips, he wants to get this guy to a Pro Bowl. When your quarterback says that about a tight end, you gotta like the guy. If you have him, feel lucky, you gotta start him.
Great stuff, JB. All right, I want to thank everybody for listening to the Piccadilly Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. I want to thank my co-host, Fantasy Phenom, JB. Well, you catch us every week right here on Block Talk Radio at 11 o'clock. And I want to leave everybody with this. If you're not playing fantasy football, you're probably spending too much time watching the 5th rerun of the vice presidential debate.
Wow.
All right, that's all I got.
All right, thanks, man.
See everybody next week. Fantasy Sports Channel on Block Talk. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. There's a new Fantasy Sports Channel on Block Talk, and we are going to be featured in it. Like, we're going to be featured in the media kit and everything. So this is going to be giant, huge for us. As soon as they're putting it all together, they're going to send it to me. I'll email it out to everybody. That's just going to be huge. It's a brand new thing. So let's see what it's all about.